I'm going to try something new today. Since I've been making these little digest videos of just kind of overviewing what I'm doing in the Memoir issue 2, I'm realizing that there's a lot more that's going on that is left unsaid from how I do this page. So I'm thinking that if I take the time and slow down and go over, just like intuitively fill this page in, not stopping to do any sort of research or exploration of outside themes, just really go with what is coming into my intuition, that might provide a perspective for other people on, inspiring their own journaling process, or at least like a contemplative state. So this is meant to be inspiration, and it's also meant to be sort of documentation for myself, so I can look back and edit this video and see my perspective of what I'm viewing my life experience to be in this body. So let's just start from the beginning, just do a little recap, and then we'll get there. So the Memoir is a collection of my quantum memoir thought forms that are just done with symbolic expression. They're just meant to be visual clues and then the beginning of a rabbit hole to go down into research. So you could see if your mind is further drawn to symbols or if it really is drawn to looking at like keywords. And then if you're seeing those keywords, if they pop out to you, that might be your intuition telling you to explore that route. So in this way, I'm considering this Memoir to be my artwork that is an alchemy of perception, that it changes, your train of thought of, wake, work, eat, sleep, do it again. That it's meant to bring imagination and creativity into your life. So in the beginning, there's seven seed words of the quantum memoir itself. Those are listed on the back. So I put 7 of these spreads in this book just to keep the symbolism consistent. And then I name each one of the pieces of artwork, each thought form. So we have imagination, and then there's a blank spread that I've already made videos about. And we have the electric node, another page of exploration of thoughts and experiences that I was having. And then now we have the octopus, that I'm starting to see these potentials, and I can look at the potentials as specific things, like specific resultants that I want to have, or I could take a more of a broader perspective and not think about like, I want to do this, and just think, I want my life to be these potentials, and whatever my work or my craft or what I spend my time on doing would fulfill these 6 potentials of how I would like to spend my time. Instead of thinking about what I want to do when I grow up, I want to think about how do I want to spend my, every day of my life for the rest of my life. So that's what I'm going to start exploring with this octopus, is thinking about how do I want to live my daily life? What is thriving to me? So if you watched the previous video that I made, I spoke about how I came up with this idea of potentials and how it relates to the work that I've been doing. And then specifically, I'm looking for financial potentials, things that will create a foundation of security for me so that I can focus more on my work and of my service than trying to fulfill my daily, requirements to be in the matrix, to be in this physical world. So that's kind of what I've been exploring here. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to kind of pop back over the notes and see if I have any further ideas to add to that. And then I'll start filling in more things that come up. But first, I just want to take a moment and slow down because I feel a little bit nervous. I'm not sure why, but I do. So I'm just going to take a few deep breaths and then I'll get to it. I suppose that the reason I feel nervous is that I feel like I'm being vulnerable. I'm talking about money issues. I'm admitting that I do not have the money resources that I need to live a fulfilling, healthy life. And so what I recognize is that in my programming of being a human on this planet, I've learned to be ashamed of that is a bad thing. You don't let other people know what your financial situation is, that there's like this odd competitiveness, but this also like undercurrent that you're not allowed to talk about. And so I feel vulnerable because I'm talking about it, but I recognize that there's so many people in my life, you know, physically and online, that are expressing some sort of the same variation of making sure that they have what they need to live properly. And so I could see that I am, you know, in this field. This is the field that I'm, you know, bringing into my reality. So I want to explore why that is and how I can help all of us kind of break free from this thing that we're all kind of, you know, contemplating or complaining about, or I'm hearing other people complain about. So the, you know, let me get, I guess, be clear, is that I'm talking about work. A few days ago when I did one of these, I think I wrote it, we're talking about living to work or work to live. Oh, it's actually on the White Rabbit page that I did. So I feel like my generation, we no longer want to have to go and be a paid slave to a job that we don't like or we don't want to do just to feed our families. We're like, wait, no more. And then it's like the newer generations is saying, no, I don't want to work in unhealthy conditions or get paid such a low amount for this valuable time that I offer. So it seems like there's the impression that we don't want to work. And I don't know what that would mean for the collective, but I know personally for me, I do want to work. Like, I love working. I am a busy person, but I don't like working for the man. Like, I've had a problem in my life with authority figures. So I see that I've always been very driven to be self-employed in some way, to where I can make my schedule intuitive, right? So whatever these potentials are that I'm trying to get at, like all of the things that I've been working on personally of trying to make my life a healthier, more tangible experience, like in a more abundant experience. Oh, I just lost my train of thought. Ooh, so that was a cognitive dissonance. Something I said must have triggered me. So let's see, intuitive schedule. So what I would like is, I would love to have an intuitive schedule where if I'm tired and I want to sleep in and I feel like that's appropriate for this body, then I want to be able to do that. I don't want to have to go clock in at a certain time, certain days of the week. I don't like to live my life that way. If I feel like I wanted to take a pee break, I want to feel like I have the authority of my own body that I could get up and go do that thing. I don't want to sit in traffic for an extended period of time to be in that environment on the freeway that I have spent so many times, you know, so many days of my life in that way in California when I lived there, that I don't want those sorts of experiences. I very much know the experience that I want, and it's here making art and sharing that and talking about that with people. So in that way, I can have a very intuitive schedule, but I don't know exactly how that's going to come about. I don't know the potential of what I'll be doing to make that happen. I just know that this is the very much one of the potentials that I want of how I would like to spend my daily life. So I'm putting that, I'm like capturing it in this pearl right here. Wow, I never thought about that. That's what these are. These are like 6 pearls. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to put that right here. So 6 pearls. So what I'm doing is I'm creating the potential of 6 pearls. And it's not that this is the outcome that I want. Like, I want to make money selling my books, or I want to make money doing tutoring or oracle readings, or I don't know what, but there's like specific things that I could do that would generate cash flow through my life through service. But I'm not going to focus on what those specific things are. I'm going to focus on the things that I would like to spend my life doing and that will fulfill those types of potential. So I'm going to try to bring all of that together between these 2 spreads. So right here, let's see, what did I just say? That I'm trying to, okay, so the thing that I want to do is my art. This is the pearl. This is how I would like to, so this is the express sphere right here. So how I would like to express my daily life is by doing art. So what I want to do with my life, like what the potential that I would like to generate in my daily life, is that I get to just love others. Like, I get to give them attention, ask them questions about their lives so that they can see it, and share with people both my art and my expression, and potentially ways that they would be able to do that. And so I just want to love others, and seems to be the way that I would most love to do it. So this is what the potential I would like to generate in my daily life, that I just get to love others on a daily basis. And that seems to be a choice that I get to make. And how I would like to express that is through my art. Right? So because this is the express. And this is connect. Those are the seed words of the, the inner part of the fruit of life cycle. So like how I would like to connect would be to love others. How I would like to express would be the art. And then my refine. What I would like to work on is to have the abundance given to me through being able to be free and liberated and sovereign here at my property and do the work that I would like to do, and not have to be out in a systematic way of an organization and be there certain days of the week. That doesn't seem like my life expression or my role. So I'm learning how to refine and make this more of a possibility for me, to have an intuitive schedule. So thinking of intuitive, what I've found is that as I go back through these spreads that I've created, it's cold here, so my fingers are kind of a little bit tinier than usual, so the ring keeps spinning, this copper. So what I've been doing is I've been going back over these notes, and then I'm just intuitively seeing messages that stand out to me, and then relating them to my current life experience and what they might be sharing with me. So reach as many goals as possible. That's what I'm trying to do. I'm trying to express myself in such an authentic and vulnerable way that I break through any shadows that I might have about myself that could be limiting me and holding me back from having this financial success. So I'm just doing that in an artistic way and expressing it so that maybe it could also, tweak or break free something for somebody else. I feel like that is kind of my day's work. It's like, this is my craft. And so what's standing out to me right now is quantum me. So let me take a moment to just kind of share my idea of what I think quantum me is. Okay, so if we look at the idea of the quantum memoir, let's see, we have it right here. The quantum memoir, we see that me really stands out. And because what I see is that what the quantum world is, like in my kind of theory or my expression, the quantum world is the field of everything. So I am this fractal of this body, of this consciousness, but I'm also the same, entire field of like that bird that's talking in the background right now. And so I have the ability to reach all of these potentials. So what I've seen in the quantum memoir, and the word memoir, is the me aspect, that if I clear me, if I remove, refine all of the shadows that could be holding me back from being a star that I am. If you've been following my fruit of life cycle, that's my purpose for this moon cycle, is to shine like a star. So right here. So that's what, to me, the alchemy is of the grimoire and the actual fruit of life cycle that I use, when I do these artistically or for my journaling purpose. So quantum me talks to me through, the words that I might come across that I want to research, and kind of learning something that I didn't know before, or intuitive feelings or thoughts that come up that I can put down and then reflect on. So I see quantum me, the field, talking to me, and all of the symbols that I'm coming across, whether it's a new friend or the bird that's screeching outside, that, a feather I might come across later. And then I can connect the clues of, what is transpiring in the the theater of my life. So to me, quantum me is paying attention to all of the sensory and psychological things that are going on in your mind, as far as like the self-reflections or the doubtful thoughts. So I take all of those as neutral information, and then I try to process it and integrate it in a way that I can see a bigger picture. So in a way, you are quantum me to me. So if I engage with you, then I see you as myself, and I think, what am I telling me? And that makes me very invested in what you have to say. And I try to make a correlation and connection with it. So I guess in a way, that's my expression. That's what I'm doing with my work. And somehow I sense that I'm putting together in a long-term project a theory of how these connections with each other create synchronicities, and that we can build upon them to where we get to clear our shadows, and then we get to be in a place of thriving in abundance. So that's the pearls that I'm working on for me personally. So if I can achieve these pearls, then I feel like my theory is worthy of putting together in words and then sharing with others. So I'm just in an experimental phase of my life, learning my intuition, reading the signs, making connections, living in a way that is seemingly more of my own authority or my own sovereignty. And I'm seeing that it's actually kind of difficult. It's very challenging to break away from society and colonialization and kind of do this other thing, but not go too far where you think that the apocalypse is like the end of the world, because things seem very strange. So I'm really trying to find the balance that I'm not just rebelling and resisting society, that I still very much want to be a part of it, but I want to be part of generating a healthier society, because I don't actually want to go back to the one that I used to live in. Then I would rather stay out here in the woods. So to me, this is the new gold rush, this idea of self-development that I've personally been like absolutely addicted to since my 20s, trying to figure out like, why am I broken? And I realize now, I'm obviously not broken. I've been conditioned to be a certain way, and now I have the authority and the choice to try something different. So to me, that's the gold rush, that instead of going and looking for a physical thing in the outside world, people, in my opinion, they're starting to look for that within themselves. And I see a lot of healing going on that I didn't see when I was in my 20s. And I'm sure that has a lot to do with me bringing that into my own life experience, because it's what I'm doing. So I can tell that it's kind of contagious, and it spreads in a very positive way. That people are starting to realize that they are the creators of their universe, that the worry brings those challenges, and that if you can not be affected by suffering, then you don't suffer, then you just learn. And so to me, what my work is, my art, is trying to show that experience, that very much, I'm in a renunciate stage of my life, and I don't want to be ashamed of that, but I don't want to live in that space either. So I'm trying to, put all of the work the research, the work that I've been doing into like a final clarity of practice, and manifest something huge, something big that will clearly see that the work that I've been doing is paying off in some way, that it's making a difference, not just in my personal reality, but in the reality that I share with other people, both physically and online. So right here, this is what's standing out. Hope. Hope requires action. So I've been very hopeful for several years, but now I'm really I have a fire under my tushy, because it's make it or break it time. It's the, going out west to find gold, and you're not finding any, you got to keep going, because maybe it's just another inch down underground. Now's not the time to give up. Now's really the time to put action into it. And this is my own personal life experience. I'm curious if the potentials that you have going on, if you're feeling that energy, that whatever you've really wanted to do, now's the time. There is no time like the present. And so I'm being called to go back and look at what this was. The art of manifesting, evidence of things I am drawing into my future. So I wrote a question mark here last night when I was looking at it because I couldn't remember why I wrote the art, but evidently it was because of this. So when I'm talking about the art, I'm talking about the art of manifesting. The whole idea of these 7 seed words is that they mimic the flow of nature of, life growing and then dying and decaying. And so to me, that is the manifesting cycle, that, we can't hold on to anything, not even the suffering, that there's a season and a time for everything. Maybe I'm going to put a musical cue in here. And this is it. That's kind of like my feeling right now, that I am coming to a conclusion of the art of manifesting that I've been trying to experiment with for the last few years. Because of the life circumstance and position that I'm in right now, like, I have nothing to lose whatsoever. Like, I have only things to gain. Actually, that was something that my husband and I said last night. I did not get to write it down. So, do you believe? I'm going to put... So, I have nothing to lose at this point in my life. My daughter's grown, so there's nothing that I necessarily need to do. She's got her own free will. I have no other children. I have my life lover, my Bodhi, and we are dedicating our lives to be of service, but we want to do it in the most virtuous, like, artistic, natural way that it feels right for our own bodies, our own, life choice. Not to match some societal expectation or goal. And so there's been this, I'm seeing this note here, fear of judgment, that this idea of, definitely, I can tell because I feel like apprehensive about saying it, I have felt judged my entire life. And it's held me back from, I know that I'm a risk taker, and like, I'm sure that people know me, they would say, yeah, she takes risks, definitely. But even with that, it's relative, because there's still so many risks that I wasn't taking and that I'm starting to take now. So I can see that, like, growth will be forever. This cycle doesn't, we don't reach the apex of conscious evolution and we're done. Like, this just keeps going on. So I will forever be, in this apocalypse. Like, so I guess what I'm thinking is that life is a challenge. I think that there's a Buddhist saying or something like that, life is suffering. And it's recognizing that there will always be challenges because you're always growing, we're always evolving. And to me, the apocalypse is uncovering that there's not any good or bad. There's lessons to be learned, and that we can't just complain about something, that hope, of change takes action. So these are the potentials that I'm seeing in humanity start to uncover. And I'm excited about it. So when I say apocalypse, I'm feeling like it's the tower falling down so that something new can be rebuilt. And I very much hope to be a part of that experience of rebuilding, one's confidence and, ability to thrive based on what feels right and intuitive for their life. And hopefully I'll get paid for that. So release pressure to perform. A friend did some cards for me, and this was a note that I took, that I think that's why I had to come up with the idea of the grimoire. I had this pressure that I was putting on myself, with trying to get people to do this practice in some way, shape, or form. It didn't matter to me if they changed it, just to get them to think in this seated circular way and not a linear way. And so that put a lot of pressure on me, because I was having a little bit of success, but not as much as I had hoped, and definitely not as much as like a financial reciprocity. So as I've been clearing the shadows to make that, clear up and flow, I realized that by just deciding to just make art Like, just take the pressure of trying to change the world and make a difference away, and just make art and let it be what, people's minds will let them play with it to be. It's released me from this pressure to perform. And so I could see that, as I have a shadow of that as a child, that I was the only child. I was a little girl for the first 7 years of my life. So I was like this prim and proper, object to a family. I would think I was the first grandchild on one side of the family. So I had this pressure to perform, to be this thing. And I'm sure a lot of people have felt that way, that they're supposed to be this thing. And so now I feel like that pressure is removed, that I'm willing to just live off of the land and eat some plants outside if I have to, if that's what's going to sustain me keep doing this. I hope not. Like, I hope that I find the avenue to get the resources to build the house. But I'm willing, because I've given up these other financial opportunities that are going to be in the system, to work for 5 days and then get paid at the end of the week. I've recently tried to experience that, and it just doesn't feel right for me. So that I figure, well, heck, if I'm not willing to do that, then I must be committed to just being here and doing this. This is what my heart is leading me to. So I'm sharing that vulnerability, that trusting that the universe will reciprocate the love and the work that you put out when you truly put all of your belief and your trust in it. So do you believe? This came up last night, Bodhi, or maybe it was the night before, I'm not sure. A song, and the lyrics are, do you believe? She repeats it over and over again. I think it was called Reunite, or that's the group, I'm not sure. But it really stood out to me last night. Do I believe in my work enough that I'm going to dedicate myself to it in a way that it's absolutely going to have to manifest and pay back? Or do I divide my attention and I go out and I work a systematic job just so that I can have money to pay, my experience in this physical reality? Which one of these things do I do to put my energy in? It's like, what do I believe in? Do I really believe in reciprocity and cause and effect in the universe, and that everything is, one field that I'm influencing? Or do I still believe that I have to go out and get a systematic job to pay my bills? Like, which one am I committing to? What do I believe? And this is what I think that my body has already chosen, because it keeps rejecting those systematic financial opportunities, and it keeps trying to just be here and do this. So I feel like I'm already making the choice without thinking about it, that I believe that my pearls here will turn out, that the things that I'm putting into this thought form here are going to create synchronicities. And when I go back over this in however many weeks it takes for me to take a look at it again, I'll see that these will have manifested because I wrote them down. I put feeling into them. I'm sharing them with you. And that is the craft, this art of manifesting that I express, in the quantum memoir. So the note that I mentioned in the last video, all questions get answered. So what I'm doing is I'm basically asking my higher self, my ultimate consciousness, whatever, the oversoul, the universe, source, I'm asking the question of, what are the potentials, these 6 pearls, how will that reciprocate in my life? Like, what is my step to go to find the job that I want to do, the work that I want to do for a living to generate my livelihood? And how can they meet these fulfillments that I'm hoping to see? So intention is what I'm being drawn to. So what's standing out for me is to put together well-formed. So my intention is to be well-formed, like personally. So personally, I want to be in a good form. I want to be well. I want to be emotionally, physically, spiritually, financially, like all of those things. I want to be well and whole and complete. So I'm, when I hear my my shadow tell me, no, it's okay, you could eat a whole bag of peach rings, I say, no, I remember last time that didn't feel very good, and I won't do it. Like I'm trying to find discipline and self-parenting for myself. So I'm trying to form myself well, that I'm trying to put all these things together that I've been learning to be a better human being, to be a better piece or fractal of the whole collective human consciousness. And in doing so, I hope that that work that I share, that fate, that deed, that action that I'm putting out in my art and my expression helps others form their life well, their perspective of their value. I hope that it brings wellness to that point of view of life. So that's one of the pearls that I would like to have in my daily life, that I live a very balanced life, and that in doing so, I'm stable in a way that I can serve others. I'm not trying to meet my own personal challenges and demons, like I've already clarified those and can be, obviously, that's very hopeful, but to the degree where I don't lose myself in my problems, I recognize that I have the ability to overcome them and continue to work on myself. Like, ultimately, that is probably the great work, to be the master or the maestro of your universe. So what's coming up is relationships, really having relationships with everything. So I feel like that should go here. And ships, I think of this whole ocean thing, with the deep waters and the octopus in the octopus garden, if you saw that reel that I put together. So relationships, these collectives that I'm sure you experience in your life, like your tribe, and ones that I'm creating online in my physical world as well. These are networks, and their potentials to create further potentials. If I say, like, I got the Hermit card this morning, and it's telling me to get out, that I need to not be too much of a hermit. And I recognize that I had kind of pigeonholed myself into, feeling safe and secure here at the property and not wanting to go in the outside world. And as I've made physical friends here in Missouri, I recognize, oh no, I should get out. Like, I shouldn't start to think of the outside world as something that is bad or negative. And I could see how I was starting to kind of turn that direction with this idea of the apocalypse. So what I'm doing is I'm trying to be open to all things. And so this Hermit card is telling me that the relationships that I'm building, both online and in my physical reality, and I think it's very kind of important to distinguish and to recognize that there's all these different types of possibilities of relationships now. It's not just like husband and wife and friend. Like, we are connected in a way that we are all reflections and mirrors of one another. And when you come across someone, there's a reason that they're linking up with you. At least in my quantum world, the perception of that I have, like the philosophy that I have for my life, that's kind of what I'm experiencing it as, that everybody is my teacher. So the Hermit is telling me something. So I want to observe the Hermit. I just want to keep my eye on the Hermit. Like, I'm not going to put it in the sphere specifically, but I'm just putting it there so that I can keep an eye on my my likelihood of often wanting to withdraw from the world, because that is the type of person, the Scorpio that I am, that as much as I am an extrovert, I'm also an introvert, and I like being a hermit, but I got to make sure that I don't get stuck in that I do have a balance of being here and there. So I'm going to observe the Hermit. That's what I'm going to put for my potentials, is to, keep building relationships in all sorts of ways. So what's coming up for me now, like how I can work on creating these potentials is refine. That when I think of action, I have this note here, offering of the next step. So I'm trying to not be concerned of what I'm going to be doing 5 weeks from now. I'm really trying to be present, living an uncalculated present life. I can't remember the quote, but being so much in the present that you're just strung through this experience like you're riding a wave instead of trying to steer and guide it in some way. I'm trying to live that intuitive schedule. So my refine is to recognize, just to work with the next step. Whatever worry I have about the future, I can look at it objectively and keep it in mind as I make my, steps going forward, but really just focus my attention to what are the steps right now in front of me, and which one feels like the next one that I should take, like the next fractal branch that will lead me to the potentials, these pearls that I'm trying to reach. So what else do we have? So what that makes me think of is that the earth is an egg, that my shell is cracked open. So I'm going to put, my shell is open. I'm not afraid of getting hurt. I'm no longer fragile and have this exterior thinness that might get damaged if it's put into an inappropriate situation. My shell is cracked open and I'm a little chick that's emerged, and I'm ready. I have this new belief that is uncovered, that there is nothing to fear. There's just opportunities to meet and resolve and, have discernment about, and just keep moving like a snake, through the branches. If you saw that video that I posted on my personal account, that green snake just kind of undulating, like you're just like, trying a couple different routes, those don't work, and then you just keep feeling your way forward, basically, I guess. Oh, I like that. Feeling your way forward. That very much feels like the octopus too, even though I'm talking about the snake. So I'm going to put feel my way forward. So you can see how this is, I'm just kind of having ideas, pondering these symbols and experiences, and then having little thoughts, and I'm just writing them down so that I can remember, and then I can see a bigger view of what my experience is or my perception is at this time. Because if you're trying to manifest, then whatever your perception or belief is about life, you're going to find things that are going to confirm that. So it's having the discernment whether this is my opinion, to whether you want to be open to the possibility that there's other things to believe in, or if you want to stay closed off and committed to that one. And who knows which way is right. Perhaps they're all right and they're all wrong, and it's just up to us to decide, which path we want to go down. So the path. I'm going to put discern the path. So this is like advice to myself, that as I'm trying to follow the potentials that will get me paid for my day's, work, like what I did that day, I'm going to have a flow of energy generating in such a way that every day I'm going to be serving and every day I'm going to be receiving. So the give and the receive will be in constant motion, that the ebb and flow doesn't necessarily dry up. It will always be turned on. It'll be in a state of thriving, that this cycle will not have pauses in any one thing. It'll just be a continuous generation of energy. Hopefully. So I'm a dreamer. I like that about me. What else is on here? Okay, so now we have all of the inner seed words. The 7 inner seed words of this thought form are filled in. So what I'm seeing very much now is that I might go ahead and put down potential avenues that I see that could be my, the filling of my basket or my cup, the things that are within my reach of doing, and see which one I want to do, and then somehow relate it to these ideas I've come up with. So I still have 2 more things to think of here, which would be the observe sphere and the ground sphere. So let me take a moment to just sit in silence and see what might come up. Okay, So for the ground sphere, I see something that is quite different that I wouldn't have thought. But I would like luxury, you know. I've lived a very luxurious life for, I guess, all of my life. Like, I've been very fortunate, and I love those sorts of comforts, like hot water, running water, you know, proper amount of electricity, regular doors and windows. And when I say regular, I mean like a door that you just open and you can go into. You don't have to sway it. I live in a bus, which I'm grateful for, but there's definitely luxuries that I feel like, for health reasons, that I will thrive much better if I'm living in a more traditional home. Not necessarily a traditional home, it's going to be a shipping container at this point, but with, you know, a regular sort of bathroom operation, and just that comfort of like a traditional home sort of feeling. So what I'm looking to ground in my physical reality is the feeling of home. For the last several years, I've been working on getting here, not that we had this place, but like getting to a place where we were on our own land, and that as far as we could see, we would just see nature. And we've accomplished that. But now there's a next stage for us, which is going to be more luxurious, to where we will have that comfort of turning the lock and opening a doorknob and opening the door and then entering into our home. So this is one of the potentials of how I would like to live my daily life. I would like it to be luxurious. I would love to have a bathtub and take a hot bath. Especially now that I know more about essential oils and herbs and things like that, I really would love the comfort of having a home and having sacred spaces set up and having walls to hang artwork or pictures up. So I'm looking to ground this physical luxury into my daily life experience as part of my work, that it will make my work that much better if I'm better rested and well loved. So I'm going to make this stand out. And I often use this sphere for numerology, so it's fitting that I put 6 in that sphere. I might explore what that is. Oh no, I said I wasn't going to do that, that I'm just going to go with it. Well, okay, so 6, that comes up thinking that about Tesla, that it's one of those magic numbers that he worked with. And 6 is the 6 moves I was talking about in my last video. That, and I've even put it on my to-do list in my Fruit of Life cycle book, that I want to come up with this game, or perhaps it'll be another booklet, of writing down your purpose and then writing down 6 potentials and figuring out what you have to do and which one of those, you know, what you have to do to accomplish them, and which one is the one that you actually put your heart desire in. So the idea would be like, I have these 6 potentials, I'm going to put all of my attention into all of them. But I could also use it where I'm just going to put 6 potentials in these outer spheres, and then I'm going to see which one my intuition is most drawn to. So I think that's how I'm going to use these outer spheres here. I'm going to come up with 5 potentials, since I just have 5 of them open, specific things that I could do to get paid for the art or the work that I do. And then I'll see which one I'm more drawn to, and see which one actually becomes part of my reality, right? So maybe that's the observation. Okay, so how I want to serve is that I want to study and experiment. So my art is the experience of that study and experiment. But what I really want to do is that I want to have the ability, the strength, that I don't have to worry about outside things, that I can just focus on doing studies experimenting with my life and then writing observations down so people can have that experience for themselves if they are working that 9 to 5 and don't have the time to do it, or their imagination isn't turned on a way where they can make these connections. I believe by watching this or getting these booklets that will start to open that intuitive point of view in your life. So my observation is that I want on a daily basis, like I want my life experience to be built around doing these studies and experiments and then sharing that as an art, with others. So these are the potentials that I would like to have in my life as part of my livelihood, about how I live my lifestyle. I'm going to write that. So the octopus is intelligent and learns quickly, makes decisions based on visual, tactical, and chemical clues. So they're almost living in multiple dimensions, I assume, that they're using all sorts of their senses to make decisions on. And I feel like in the past, I often let fear of judgment guide me and push me into making one decision that was supposed to be safe for others or protect others, or, comply and be part of a system that, if I didn't obey, that I would be bad. Now I have this experience of being liberated and free, and I see that there's still challenges in it. It's not like, oh, I'm going to go be an artist and everything's great. Like there's still this like breakaway of experience that is culminating into my art. So I no longer have to be fearful that what I have to say should be judged by anybody else, because I very much see it just as art. That, my whole life is art. It is an expression, like a story. And I feel like that would be for everybody if they chose to look at their life that way. That we all have an experience that is very unique from one another, yet we share a larger one that sometimes we don't even pay attention to. And I'm trying to really focus on the being of service through my individuality. And to me, again, that's kind of what I think this new gold rush is, that I see other people wanting to do the same thing. The most obvious thing to me would be tutoring. That if I put this in the connect sphere, that if I work with others one-on-one, and I don't know, maybe even collective, like maybe we could have study groups where we're trying to create synchronicities between us, but I could be the guide to keep us, in the flow and the cycle of the fruit of life, of using these 7 seed words, and we could try to manifest a group purpose. Or I can work with people one-on-one and help them do that for themselves. But I could see that one of my potentials would be tutoring, that this would be a way that I could exchange energy for others and be of service. So here, I'm thinking about the grimoire, the alchemy of perception. So one of the potentials of the things that I can do when I grow up, the thing that will keep my life in a thriving state so that I can continue to do my work, would be this idea that my shell is open. Like my artwork is now very vulnerable and free. I'm not trying to have this pressure to perform, to show something in a certain way. Like I'm just going ahead and just following my intuition and putting those thoughts and symbols down. So since my shell is open, this potential would be that expression of that artwork that's coming from my vulnerability. And so this could be one of the potentials of what I would do to keep my life in that flowing state. So purpose, my intention, my relationships. Well, what's coming up for me actually is this idea of doing oracle spreads, a quantum knowing. So a quantum knowing is this oracle spread that I do where I take the 7 seed words and I pull tarot cards for it. And then using the outer seed words, I look up other things like your astrology and your numerology, and I find a chakra energy, and I'll start doing a tree energy, you know, like an earth energy. So I do these oracle readings, and I've done a few of them lately. And that could be one of the potentials of me getting paid for the work that I do, that I can intuit the feeling that I'm getting from the cards expression, and then I can make one of these, you know, pieces of artwork with those vibes in it so that you have it to look at and reflect on and relate to. So that would be an oracle reading, basically, or a tarot reading. So this is another one of my potentials. So if you see, these things that I'm talking about doing will fulfill all of these potentials, these 6 potentials that I would like my daily life to be around. All of these will get fulfilled within, if I'm doing any one of these potentials that I'm creating. So can you see how I'm kind of making a game of it? I'm trying to make connections. Instead of focusing on worry and what's not working, I'm trying to create solutions and put my energy towards them and see if there's any next steps to follow with any one of these things so that I can keep, moving forward with my, my evolution, my personal evolution, basically. Okay, so my eyes were kind of drawn down to here and seeing a call from deep within. And then I was immediately drawn over here to receptive to dream symbols. So what I'm seeing is that one of these things, and I'm seeing it to go right here, would be the Dream Catcher book that I have these. Let me slow down. I'm getting excited. Okay, so I have these booklets that I'm coming up with. We have the Fruit of Life Cycle. That's like a manifesting book for the season and the moon and a daily practice. And then I have this booklet, the Grimoire. Well, I also want to do one that's called a Dream Catcher. So this book is an idea that I could go ahead and follow through with and put some more energy in. I already came up with the cover and the concept. I'm just looking for the outer seed words that I would use that would help catch these thoughts of like lucid dreams, daydreams, night terrors, all of those sorts of things that you would want to capture these intuitive symbols and ideas from, so that you could create, a thought form around them so you could see a bigger picture. So discern the path is where I chose to put that one, because what those thoughts and ideas that you would notate and put down, they're helping you discern the path. They're helping you, your subconscious is speaking to you and telling you something about your life experience, either from the past or your worries about the future, or maybe even, signs of what you should do right now. So what I would like to do is go ahead and put that book together. And that could be one of these potentials that is how I will reciprocate the work that I do, and to get paid for it would be to have this tangible thing. That's a theme that I explored, a tangible thing that I can offer another, so that could help them with discipline and staying on track with it. But it'll also perpetuate, the time and space that I have, so that I can keep doing, the work that I do. It's an exchange of energy so that we both win. So let's see, what is another potential? Relationships. I wonder what that could be. I'm going to look at my Fruit of Life book and see. I had some things that I was writing down of what I wanted to. 6 moves. That's probably it. 6 potentials. Okay, so that's what it is. Okay, well, that's what this one would be then, the art. So 6 potentials. The game that I was talking about in my last video would be called 6 moves. And it's how to use this shape as a vector equilibrium to create and write down 6 favorable potentials, kind of like what we're doing here. And, which one are you more drawn to do the most? So I guess I'll kind of, once I'm done with this, once I get this one filled in, I'll kind of play with that idea a little bit. so I can extend the thought to you, see if maybe you come up with anything. So then what's coming up here is the word collective. I've tried this a few times, but I have not had success with it, where I tried to do a platform that I would pay for that would create a space that we could create synchronicities with, kind of make little clubs and talk with one another using the quantum memoir as our language. I'm going to write that language. And the idea would be that the collective, that we would have this common language that we would work within this framework, and that we would be able to create synchronicities. But I was never able to find a way to generate enough money to pay my bills, let alone pay for the platform to get a collective going. So, you know, something I keep trying, and that I feel like maybe is in the future, but I don't know that it's right now. But it's really would be built around relationships. Like I would need several people to do this with, to where it would actually work, because I've tried it, you know, just myself or just with another person, and I think it would have to be a larger audience that would get it started. But it is a potential. I've always wanted everything to be for free, that nobody would have to pay to do it. So I don't know how I would generate the revenue from it and still have it be something that nobody would be shut out from. But maybe somebody else has an idea and they can amuse me. That would be awesome. But it's a potential I see, I guess, further in the future. So then what I'm already starting to intuit is that I have these 6 potentials of things that I could do to get paid for the work that I do. But this one I'm less called to right now. Like I kind of want to shrink it down, that this one's not standing out to me as something that I should do. But I should also observe the fact that I am kind of shutting that one down. So I would ask myself, is that just resistance or is that true? But I can start to follow my intuition through looking at these and feeling which one might I put the energy into that will also fulfill these kind of like requirements or these goals that I have about my daily lifestyle. So that would be kind of how you would play this game of the 6 moves. And so what I'm thinking is that you can even do, I haven't started the I Ching, like I want to study it so I could see how to use the dice to have it as a divination to figure out which one of these I might do. So what I could go through in here and number these. That's funny. This one's 5, but it's 6 moves. 6. So I have these 6 numbers. I could roll dice and find out, you know, just intuitively, or, you know, in a divination way, to figure out which one is the step that I might take next. You could pull tarot cards for them and then extend the information of what that tarot card might be telling you about each one of these potentials. So it's something that you could just use as your map of what you're doing and where you're going, and then you start paying attention to the ideas that come up in your mind, and then you let that guide you to the next step. That would be the 6 moves. And this octopus has really helped me, you know, bring that forward, that idea forward. So I'm excited to see what's going to come next.